Afternoon everyone, and welcome to Motorhome Adventures YouTube channel. This episode is about upgrades. So for those of you who are new to the channel, firstly a very warm welcome to you. It's good to have you along, and for those existing subscribers, a huge thank you to you for continuing to watch our films and enjoy the progress and some of the upgrades and the travels that we do in this Mobilvetta 2021 Mobilvetta A Class motorhome. Good to have you all along. So this is all about upgrades. You'll remember, and you'll have seen on the channel, those regulars of you, some of the upgrades that we did to the solar system on the roof, and that was about year and a half ago, and I mentioned then that I probably would want to upgrade to lithium at some stage from the current AGM batteries that we have. So now is the time. And therefore, without further ado, let's introduce you to some of the changes that we're planning to make in the next week or so. Be 5, 6, 7 days, not quite sure how long. Some of those changes we're planning to make. Let me take you through those and give you a flavour of what's to come. So it's a bit of carnage. The cupboards are being emptied, the carpet's being taken out, the inverter has gone. The batteries are still in there, but let me just tell you very briefly what the plans are going to be. This is no longer going to be the battery locker. We're going to completely move that, and I have to say, first and foremost, that that's way above my pay grade. So I'm taking the van over to sunny Essex, to somebody who I'll tell you a bit about as the film goes along, who is an expert in this type of work. And the plan is that we are going to move said battery compartment to under this seat, where there is a much larger void, which links through right under the van through to the side locker where I used to keep my electrical cables and hose and bits like that. We'll still keep a fair part of that locker, but this side just here is going to include some of the, or all of the electrical components, including 2 new 300 amp hour lithium batteries, so 600 amp hours in total, going in beneath the seat here. So I can't wait to show you the progress and how we achieve that. In fact, I'm very much looking forward to seeing it myself. I've seen some pictures of what potentially we're going to look like when it's done, and it looks absolutely amazing and an incredible setup. Now, you also remember, probably those of you who are regulars to the channel, moaning a bit about the gas oven, not only because it's high up and above the fridge in the van, but it's also not the most effective thing in the world. And I had seen one or two others talk about a replacement for this, which is a 5-in-1 combi oven made by Toshiba. So another job that we're going to do over the next few days is to take this out and fit a new 5-in-1 Toshiba oven, which is an air fryer, a microwave, and an oven, some other functions which I'll tell you about once it's in. That's going to go in there, and the other bit of major work to finish is up the front here. Now, we are, you remember, in one of the films, and if you haven't caught the film, we've just recently changed the stereo on this from the Accent to this Pioneer make, and if you want to know a bit more about that, then do check out the channel for the film on that being swapped over. But in the process, when you engage reverse gear, the rear camera on the van used to obviously come up on the screen there. So what we've done is I've not reconnected the camera to the electronics of the Pioneer, because the final part of the next few days upgrades is going to involve a twin camera going in on the back of the van, so one that looks straight down, another one that's looking back, dual lens camera, and we're going to bring it to a display which we're likely to mount here. This is, for those who've got Mobilvettas, know all about it. It's merely a sticky, slightly spongy pad which has got no particular use at all. It's stuck with double-sided tape, that's all they put it on with. But of course it also lends itself to a screen, as you can see by the cutout, lends itself to perhaps fitting a screen or indeed anything else you want to fit there, which is going to be far more useful for our reversing. Not only reversing, obviously when we're towing Peggy the scooter, then it gives me an ability to be able to monitor that while we're travelling, check she's all right and that she hasn't disappeared down the motorway off the back of the trailer. So that's it really. 3 major upgrades: the cameras, the oven back there, and then the biggest of all, which is this huge job which involves battery box coming out. Hopefully, perhaps if we can free up the room, that becomes a storage compartment again, and then the rest of it coming over here and under this seat here. You can see there's already a cover there, but we've got to take all this apart to start and to rewire the whole van across to here. Hence you can see why it's way above my pay grade, and into the area under the seat. So I have to say I'm very excited about this upgrade. We're going, those of you who saw the solar upgrade will know that I've added 2 175 watt panels to the roof when I did the Renogy upgrade. Those are going to stay up there obviously because that's 350 watts already, but we might be adding to those as well because we've certainly got room on the roof. We might be adding to those as well, therefore, because going from 200 amp hours AGM, which most of you will know means you can only use about half of that, so it's about 100 amp hours AGM, to 600 amp hours lithium, of which you can use most of the 600. So it's a huge upgrade, but would also lend itself potentially to a bit more solar on the roof, particularly of course as we travel south in Europe. Tremendous sun hours down there, and we would get really good scope off grid with such a powerful system. So this time we're going with a lot of Victron parts, and as we go through the project I'll obviously take you through it, show you where everything's going, and what we're adding into the van. So this is the first episode, if you like, of the clear out, the strip out. We've obviously got lots of bits to take off the van, panels to dig into, get behind where loads of the existing wiring goes that comes into the current battery box, which is going to all be moved over there. So some of these voids under the floor will be no doubt drilled through and foraged around, hence all the carpeting's up, and I'm starting to strip the van down. I leave early morning, 4 in the morning tomorrow, to do the 320 odd miles to Essex from Tenby, a fair old trek, where we're going to be flat out working to install all those upgrades. So stick with us, and you may even be as excited as I am, but I think that's hard to do. So we'll see you on the road, or I might even wait till I'm in sunny Essex to touch base with you all again. See you very soon. There they are, loaded, 26 kilos each. That's not a light piece of battery, is it? 26 kilos each, and somehow they've got to get under there. But I know a man who can do exactly that. Yes, and the garage is stripped out. Hardly got anything left in there at all. A few essentials in life, some tools, and of course, there's the new oven, Toshiba oven. So all of that hopefully is going to miraculously reappear in the van. Fingers crossed. Well, and as if by magic, here we are. MACSUK, Motorhome and Caravan Services UK. All the way from Tenby, the other side of the world, over 300 miles. But in the shake of a lamb's tail, here we are, in the yard, in the lockup at MACSUK. And what a first day, which I'll show you in a minute. So now Jonathan, who started and runs MACSUK, is based in a complex in the Essex countryside. Number of industrial units on a farm here that's diversified, and you can see telltale signs of a moho or two kicking about. And there's Resi parked up. We charged down from Tenby yesterday, left at a crazy hour in the morning, about 4 AM, to beat some of the Welsh traffic. I managed to get here by early afternoon, midday-ish. So no sooner arrived than Jonathan, because he's that sort that gets on with the job, has started diving into the work that we're doing on Resi the Moho. I'll take you that through a minute, but first take you through that in a minute. But first, I want to show you and tell you a little bit more about Jonathan and Motorhome and Caravan Services UK. And I'll do that by showing you that round the corner here, he's actually got a Park for Night site as well. So potentially, if you're having work done here at the unit, then you may well be able to stay overnight. Obviously, if it doesn't involve your van being stripped out like Resi the Moho is getting there, then there are options to stay the night. There's also accommodation nearby if you needed it. But let's take you around, show you the Park for Night site, and tell you a bit more about Jonathan as well. So just around the other side of the farm complex, Jonathan has created, you can see the Motorhome and Caravan Services UK site there. All the links, incidentally, will be in the description below the film. But this is a little park up area, gated, secure. Some more facilities going to be added as it gets established, but it's on Park for Night, and geographically we're relatively near Colchester. So obviously, if you're needing a park up, then it's a good little spot for access into Colchester, or not least if you're having work done here at MACSUK. And Jonathan is a motorhome owner, and always fancies setting up and starting work in the motorhome business, and has of course gone on to be approved, qualified and approved by the MCEA, who's the the Mobile Caravan Engineering Association, and of course also NCC approved, so that he's able to do a number of different tasks with your motorhome or caravan. He's additionally done a Gazlo engineering course, so he's extensively qualified, professionally qualified in looking after your pride and joy, be it a motorhome or caravan. And I guess, like a lot of us who own those type of vehicles, be it motorhomes or caravans, we like to think that whoever we take the van to is going to sort of look after it well, understands what we want, and really wants to satisfy the requirements or our needs in terms of these sort of upgrades or modifications that we do. And that's what drove Jonathan to set up Motorhome and Caravan Services UK. And what drives him still in terms of the work that he does. And I started talking to Jonathan, and it took a while to sort of hone in on what we wanted and what we were actually looking to achieve. But I think that's one of Jonathan's strengths, is sort of understanding how you want to use your motorhome or caravan, and therefore what potentially could be the solution. For us, it was all this discussion was certainly all about power and improving our off-grid capability. So it's about him understanding that, and then constructing a solution which fits budget, which fits that sort of lifestyle, the way you want to use your vehicle or your caravan, but doing it with a sort of really good, very professional finish and a good sort of quality service. I, as always, looked at a number of alternatives, a number of providers, and ended up with Jonathan. Jonathan was a Mobilvetta owner as well, in fact 2 different Mobilvettas in the past, and therefore knows the vans well, but it was just that extra layer of interest and attention to what I was wanting and how I was wanting it done, which is what made me come here to MACSUK, because of that desire to sort of get all the detail right and build in this case a sort of off-grid system which would see us around Europe and give us a much more scope in terms of off-grid living, which is what we want to try and we want to try and achieve when we're travelling down through Europe to see our eldest daughter, and of course travel beyond. I mean, of course, in terms of tasks, while we stroll back towards the unit, in terms of tasks, anything really, you know, from hab checks, van up waiting, vehicle servicing. He can do maintenance, repairs, low gas systems, lighting upgrades, aircon, rear camera installation, you know, you name it. But I think what really drew me to Jonathan in terms of the work we're having done to Resi was some of his electrical and solar work, which looks absolutely amazing. So needless to say, I'm going to show you a bit of the work that we did yesterday and take you through the project as we work through it. And the other good thing was, or is, if you wanted it, is that Jonathan also travels. So he literally is a mobile workshop as well as having this place here in Essex. He's also goes fully on the road, does sort of fairly regular trips out in all parts of the UK, and can bring a lot of the services that I've talked about to you. So just look at the carnage in the van now. So as I say, we got here about lunchtime yesterday, started stripping out early afternoon, with me being chief tea maker and bottle washer, and within the blink of an eye Jonathan does get to work, and works at good pace. But you can start to see now what I was talking about. The battery box, you can see the two existing hab batteries are still in there. That'll probably be on today's list, and that was obviously where I'd put my Renogy inverter, and we had of course added the second hab battery, AGM battery, when we first got the van. But now we're 2 or 3, or just coming up to 3 years, MOT due in a couple of weeks, first MOT. It was time to now that we've lived in it for 2 or 3 years, it was time to do the upgrades and to start to set it up to in a more user-friendly way of when we you know, are off-gridding on the French airs and in and around the Alps, and we've got Italy perhaps next year and across to Greece. So this is what this is about. You can see there, this was a completely empty void, obviously from a hatch that you can see just down there. We used to obviously put electric cables in. There is still a void under the those 2 fuses that are placed there. There's still a void there for electrics and stuff, but this space where the batteries are, the new fog stars are, that was where I had a hose pipe and a couple of other bits and bobs that we used to access from outside. So in other words, this area has been completely repurposed under the lounge area seat here, and none of these are fixed in yet. We're just sort of placing, and Jonathan's working out where and how he's going to set this up. Needless to say, that's a Victron Multi Plus there, and what that's about, we obviously, when we had the inverter there, we used to run a trailing lead out of it, you know, and that with a couple of plugs on the end. And I'd always fancied something that perhaps allowed us to get power straight, obviously, to the 3-point sockets that are sort of round the van, up by the TV there, and down at the front, sockets through to the back here. I always thought it'd be dead handy to, you know, be able to just arrive on site and have an ability, if you weren't hooked up, which of course is costing more and more these days to take electric, it would be to have an ability to be able to of course use the 3-point sockets, and that's where this amazing piece of kit comes in, the Multi Plus. That will allow all the 3-point sockets to be active in the van when we're on or off grid, and of course the additional power, when you think about that additional power of 600 amp hours lithium versus 200 amp hours AGM, but of course because it's AGM you only get about half of that, so 2 100 amp hour batteries equals about 100 usable amps, whereas you get almost the full 600 out of those. So it's a massive increase in power, and hence us adding more to the roof, and then some other whizzier kit in here. But I'll take you through some of that detail as we go through the project. But of course it does involve, yes, complete carnage in the van. Wiring of course is being completely moved out of there and across to here. and then somehow, and you'll see at the end, somehow it will all magically disappear and be a very whizzy new van when we've completed the upgrades. Now obviously in our Mobilvetta, you probably remember there's a couple of floor voids. There's one there with just a lift off lid, there's another two here. Under that one is water pump and grey water dropout on our 2021 Mobilvetta. But these two spaces here were originally empty. That's obviously the start of Jonathan's work to reroute some of the wiring from the existing battery area across to here. So it is a major change, but it was all, you know, what was, as I say, what brought me all the way here to Essex was that way that Jonathan, you know, understood and took time to understand exactly what we wanted, where the budget was. We had a number of discussions about, you know, what components to use, what fitted the budget right. And Jonathan sent me some pictures and bits and pieces of work that was done, work that he's done to, you know, really give you a flavour of what's going to happen to your motorhome, albeit it looks like complete carnage at the moment. I can assure you that once we've finished, which you'll see towards the end of the film, it'll be a remarkable install. I've no doubt it'll be a remarkable install, and exactly what we were after in terms of off-gridding and off-grid capability. Another reason as well why I like the idea of going to the MultiPlus was that this bit of kit also has an ability, even if you're hooked up, if for example in France we encountered a lot of 6-amp sockets where you have to then be very careful what you use and how you use it, otherwise you pop the fuse, which no doubt we've all done, I have, me included. But what this as well does is that if you're hooked up and you go beyond that limit, say it's a 6-amp post that you're hooked to, then the MultiPlus has got intelligent functionality in it which then allows it to make up the difference of what you're now using by therefore sharing with the batteries. So you both got hookup and some of your lithium battery power being managed by the MultiPlus, which then fills that gap. Again, with some of the functionality within the MultiPlus, it also works out that if you are truly off-grid, then of course what it won't do is use battery power, lithium battery power on the fridge, say, because obviously, as we know, that will draw a lot of power, even out of 200-300 fog stars, it'll draw a lot of power. So what the MultiPlus does, it says, right, I'm off grid now, I've got no hookup, so it will separate onto a different circuit the fridge, so it makes sure that the fridge will only work when there is a viable hookup lead. So in other words, it leaves the fridge on gas but then activates the 3-pin sockets in the van, so you've got all that use. Just great functionality, and just makes, you know, that sort of day-to-day living a lot easier for us when we're travelling Europe. It of course also fitted well doing the 600 lithium, because we're taking this oven out, as I mentioned earlier in the film. This old gas oven, bless it, without its doors, because the door catch, well, in fact that catch had broken at least once, comes loose. We've all had that trouble, I guess, with these domestic ovens. I stuck that back in, having spent ages trying to source or get the old bolt out. I had to take all this trim off, and God knows what, to be able to get the new nut on the back of this catch. And then a few months later, the actual catch on the glass door that slots into that bit, that then broke, sheared off. So yeah, I was well out of love with this oven. So we're putting in that Toshiba 5-in-1, the air fryer, microwave and all that. And part of my discussion with Jonathan when we're speccing up and saying what I wanted, what I needed, was that the oven, whatever replaced it, would work off-grid with our off-grid capability. So that Toshiba 5-in-1 will function with hookup, without, perfectly well off-grid as well. So I'm really looking forward to that. So, you know, this is as probably you'll get bored with it by the end of the film, but I keep coming back to this point about Jonathan listening to and understanding what I was trying to achieve, all the different aspects I was trying to achieve when we now travel. and then coming up and designing the system and toing and froing of yes to that, no to that, yes to that, and of getting it absolutely right. And that's what he was very good at doing, better than the 3 or 4 others that I had similar discussions with, much better than them in fact. And that's what's led us here to this project. Some of the other bits that will go with the MultiPlus, got some different MPPTs there, probably going to have 3 MPPTs if we put as much as sort of 7.5, 800 watts on the roof. The power in there, that's obviously a way of then distributing the power to the various circuits in the van, that's connected up to our MultiPlus. Under the seat there will go a battery to battery, Victron battery to battery system, so that the MultiPlus will manage that if the hub batteries are full, then it'll also trickle charge back into the main engine battery. You know, yet more good functionality and more ability to stay off grid for longer. And then of course this thing here, this is a Serbo GX it's called, and it connects, it will connect to this, which is the sort of visual aspect, shall we say, of the brains of it, the Serbo. And this is going to be up near our existing panel, probably pop it in here. Tidy this up, probably put the second screen in here so that all the functionality, the Truma controls, the main van board, and now the display unit for the Serbo will be up here, and that will give us complete monitoring both within the van and away from the van remotely, from anywhere in the world in effect where there's a connection, of course. Allows you to then log into your van to see the condition of the batteries, to see the condition of the engine and hub batteries, and of where your power exactly is. And obviously that's enabled by a Victron shunt, which will also be going in there, which monitors very accurately your power usage of the new batteries. But as I say, we'll do a little bit more of the detail as we get to each component, just so you can understand what we're trying to achieve here. So day 2 is, or the first full day, is well underway. We've got fridge vents off, starting the wiring for, Jonathan's been feeding the wiring for some of the next parts of the project, and then in here got some new holes drilled, some new wiring starting to come through, ready for some of these new components. And that traces back out of the new void, and there at the back there you can just see holes drilled there, new holes there, and new bus bar here. So well and truly underway. Look at that spaghetti. Hence this was way above my pay grade. And amazing to see it all going in. So a big thanks to Jonathan from MACSUK for tolerating me mooching about with the camera and giving you guys some of the highlights of the install. And you can just see, if I lower the camera down there, just see some of the new holes and cable routing that Jonathan's managing there. It's out. Oh dear, how sad. Not. It's been removed. There we go. The oven is no more. The void is void. Time for some decent kit. And the roof is somewhat different. Solar's off. Prepping ready for the new configuration of panels, which will include the 2175s that were already on there, but just in probably a slightly different configuration, so everything fits a bit better. You can see the old footprint marks of the old one, or of the ones we're going to keep, I should say. It is all change. And of course this hole was where the vent came from the gas oven, so we're not going to need that now. So that might be repurposed, perhaps as part of the solar build, but leave that in the capable hands of Jonathan to sort out. And then just up there, that's where the original gland was that had the 2 solar wires going down into the van there behind the control panel. So more day 2 update. That's the Orion XS, that's the DC to DC battery charger, the new one that we're putting in the Victron. That's the Nordtel Electronica one which came with the van. A bigger and different unit, slightly different unit. So this one, the Victron's obviously going to replace the other, and we're under the driver's seat there in that little compartment under there. So that's that bit. And let's take you around and show you around the other bits. So Jonathan has continued that cabling work. You can see now he's surrounded it now, shrouded it in conduit there, refitted the fuse case there, fuse casings. We've then started to run those the cabling for the solar. So there's a massive bunch of cabling that will eventually go to the 3 MPPTs that will be mounted on that back wall there. None of this stuff in the box here is mounted yet. We've up at the top here. So there you can see the. There you go. There's a scrambled egg under there, isn't there? There's the iNet box at the back there, hidden away in the most awkward of places to get to. So there's the standard Mobilvetta one. Here's the new Touch 50, which runs with the servo, which is the brains, the sort of central part which brings all of these component parts together, and it visually communicates it to the Touch 50. There's a Touch 50 or a Touch 70, obviously by very definition. The 70 is a little bit bigger, probably closer to that sort of size. So that's obviously been drilled in around the back there. And the cabling then, that's been a crafty bit of work. The cabling is going coming down the back here from the new solar cables are coming down. See the black conduit there, and then the black conduit here routed. This blue cable is what I was talking about earlier with the MultiPlus having the ability to, when you're off grid, to not allow the fridge to draw power from the lithium batteries. So it creates a separate AC circuit so that the fridge will only work on AC when it's when we're actually physically hooked up, so it doesn't drain the batteries. So that's what that's doing. That's getting that circuit in so that it doesn't go and drain our lithiums. That's that. Then under the floor here, if I can just take you under there, hang on a sec. There we go. So hopefully you could see that. So I couldn't see what the lens was looking at, but hopefully you can see there. Now that there's another piece of wood that comes across here, which at the moment is temporarily out. So when that piece goes back in, this goes back to a lidded storage area with the original piece in, and all the new wiring that's under here is now behind that piece of that wooden insert, which was originally obviously part of that storage compartment. So as you can see, that will make that wiring completely invisible then. And so now there's been an increase in everything coming up through the floor there. This bit over to the right here, all that's all was existing wiring that's under this space here up in the corner. But then all the new stuff there coming up through that new hole that Jonathan drilled today as well. So some incredible progress, and a real pleasure to watch him in action, as it were. It's quite there's some real great jiggery pokery going on here with wiring hidden away, and I can definitely see the point that he made to me when we were doing all the planning and prep for this about, you know, you just basically don't want to know he's been here because everything is so well hidden away, and I'm starting to see exactly what he means by that. So yeah, really good to see, exciting to see it going in. We'll keep you posted. And of course what we've got now is we've got a new little storage area where the batteries and the battery trays and the straps and everything was formerly. So yeah, we've lost a bit of space under the seat there, although I didn't use all of that anyway, but gained a bit here. So the back end of day 2, just thought I'd show you around this side of the van. On the off side there, this is that store area which we're repurposing into the battery store. None of this is fixed in yet, just laid out. Jonathan just lays it out to get a feel for how everything's gonna flow best together in terms of cable run and all that sort of thing, which was an interesting process to watch as well. So this is where there'll be a tray. He's going to fabricate a tray for the batteries. But then the key thing is working out, you know, how the cable runs are going to go, and that's the detail which, when I saw some of his work, I really like the look of. It's the detail of working out, you know, the most effective cable runs to take the cabling into the different area without, of course, inducing any really sharp turns or you know, undue stress on the new cabling, and that's what all of this has done, where we've come in under the floor there, and then particularly the planning of this area here, because as of course, you know, certainly say inverter to battery and cables like that, thick cables which need or don't need, I should say, any sort of really sharp turns. A, it makes it very difficult to work with, but B, it puts undue stress perhaps on the connectivity of them, which is something you definitely want to avoid. So it's all that sort of planning that once you'd established sort of what I was after, it's then planning that best setup and all that detail that goes with it. And in fact, let me show you another detail as well. Here's the new oven going in, fantastic. But this here is fabricated by Jonathan, so it's always to make what is something that would probably sit on your work surface at home, a standard 5-in-1 combi, microwave, etc. You can see the functionality there. It's then finishing it to make it fit into here, getting the bits of spacer bars in there so that it's securely in there, doesn't slide around, doesn't vibrate or rattle too much, and then manufacturing these bits that then will frame it, if you like, and ensure it stays in there securely. And in fact, you can see just up the back there some of the work. Again, this panelling, there's obviously a piece of timber there, so there's a panel that comes across there, so there's a new socket that's gone in at the back there, which is what the combi oven, the Toshiba combi oven, is plugged into. And you can start to see as well that, again, hidden from sight once we've put the van back together, but there's all the cabling coming down from the roof, the new solar cabling that is, and that at the moment is using the old outlet for the gas oven that used to be sat here. So that little chimney that we've obviously taken off, that would have been the gas chimney vent, that's now been repurposed for the cable run of the increased amount of cabling that is going to carry the solar panelling, which we're going to be somewhere around 750 watts, I think, when we've got everything on the roof. Which might be for day 3, some of that might be for day 3 and 4. So let's just have a look at a couple of other bits. And then again, same point again, but it's just these sort of little details. The burner of the fridge, so we're on the near side of the van here obviously, the burner of the fridge, this being one of the fridge vents, there's the other one, is obviously on this side. The element of the fridge, I just lifted up there, you can just see the element of the fridge, which is just along on the back here. But it's thinking about those cable runs, because obviously the element itself gets very warm, and of course you wouldn't want plastic near the burner of the fridge. So it's therefore, you know, in making and running the cable runs up through here, it's conduiting them to make sure there is no chance of them being affected by any heat that may be in the vicinity of the cable runs themselves, albeit they've been positioned so that they're well away from potential excess heat sources. And then if we pop this open, that's and you can see where some of the cabling's coming down there. That's obviously yet to be finished and tidied up as well, a bit like the stuff under the floor there. There's still a fair bit of tidying, but you can see the concept that that it's all about that detail of keeping the cable runs out of sight, keeping it as a smooth flowing system, which is, you know, delivering what you want. And the other point about Jonathan, which I liked, was that he sort of said, well, you know, where do you see the van, or what are the things that you may get round to in the future, and that's what allowed us to bring together, to sort of shunt around my initial thoughts, and was to bring together, say, the work for the oven, for the solar, at the same time, because a lot of it involved obviously similar cable runs. So it's his ability to do that and just understand what you need, to tweak it, to suggest, to encourage, perhaps to think about other ways forward. And that's what, you know, got us to this day, or to 2 days ago when I arrived, with this really good plan for sort of what we're trying to achieve during the time here. That is, you know, that fits my requirements, if you like, and makes it a much more efficient way to install for him as a company. So yeah, just lots of ways which were really some significant pluses for travelling the 300+ miles from Tenby to Essex. I was that encouraged by the interaction with Jonathan in the planning process that I had no doubt that it was well worth travelling the 310 miles odd from across the world, from Tenby to just near to Colchester in Essex. Well worth the journey. So day three working on the all new Resi the Moho. Plenty of room in the unit, incidentally, for to keep your pride and joy safe and sound in here. It's a good workspace actually, and so with big secure roller shutters, and so if you're leaving it here, you can be assured that it's going to be looked after and be very safe here at the unit. So day three, we hopefully will have some solar panels arriving, which the first of which are going to be perhaps starting to plan how they're going to be tetrised up onto the roof there, because there's a fair few to get up onto the roof surface. And we'll then be more finishing off on perhaps things like the oven, and then perhaps some more wiring work as well, of course, wiring work on the Victron setup under the seat there. So looking forward to seeing where we get to on day three. So I hope you enjoyed those first couple of days as much as I have. Don't worry, the next episode as well is going to be out very quickly. I'm going to probably try perhaps to get it out tomorrow or the day after, so you won't have to wait long for the second and final episode of the second half of the installation. It's all very exciting stuff. Thoroughly enjoying Jonathan's work, and very much looking forward to bringing you the rest of the install. So keep an eye out on the channel for part two. Hope you've enjoyed part one. It's been fabulous having you all along and sharing the upgrade work as it's done, and I look forward to bringing you part two. Thank you, of course, to our new subscribers and to you existing subscribers. Good to have you along, and we look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Take care.